The Grand Mullah Ahmednasir Abdullahi, Senior Counsel, Chair of the Senior Council's Committee in the Law Society of Kenya, also constitutional lawyer. Very good morning. Karibu sana to the Situation Room.
Asante sana. Thank you very much. Good morning, all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, Mohamed Wehliye has been in the studio before, so you're the guest here. In fact, even Mohamed is also welcoming you to the show. Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you very much.
And Mohamed Wehliye is joining us as well. He's a senior advisor, Saudi Arabia Central Bank. Asante sana for joining us today.
Asante, Eric.
You're now Mr. Moneybags.
No.
Every Mr. Moneybag says no.
Other people's money. Other people's money.
Other people's money.
Yes.
You just carry the bag.
Kabisa.
Okay. We're here to talk about, the politics and the lie of the land, what's been happening in the political front. You two are very, very active on social media, particularly on Twitter, and you occasionally banter one another. Those who follow you will see, obviously, whenever Ahmednasir Abdullahi tweets, he's going to tag Mohamed Wehliye. When Mohamed Wehliye tweets,
stop that
he's going to tag Ahmednasir Abdullahi. Are you opposing one another politically somewhere on some seats that you're about to announce?
No. I don't. I think neither me nor Ahmed is interested in political seat, but we are interested in the politics of the country. And I think that is something that goes way back to so many years. I've been consistent somewhere, and he's been consistent in opposing that somewhere. So it's just by chance that we are on the opposing side.
It's just the way things are.
No, actually, to the contrary, we are opposing one another. My friend Wehliye represents the status quo. Yes, I represent change. That's why.
Ahmednasir, you've always represented
Let me
change.
finish. That's why we don't agree on so many things that's happening in this country. I think continuing the status quo, like I think Raila said he will continue on the footsteps of Uhuru. Atafata yao ya Uhuru. That status quo is no longer tenable in this country. And that's why I think we need a wind of change. And that we are part of that wind of change. And that's why me and Wehliye don't agree on anything. If you look at our social media contacts, because the status quo has failed. Everybody knows that. I used to be part of the status quo, but I acknowledge acknowledge that it has failed. And that's why we need more energy. We need new directions.
It's very strange for someone who supported Jubilee, someone who supported Jubilee 2 times.
3 times.
3 times.
Yes.
And represented Jubilee in court, now talking about status quo. You see, sometimes you wonder whether things in dictionary have changed, the meaning of status quo. We've always, advocated for change, and the people who resisted that change, the top end of that group that is the group that Ahmed actually represents. So when he sits here and says status quo, I really don't understand, because he mentioned Raila. Of course, he has to. There's no one day that the sun rises and Ahmed doesn't mention Raila, and I think that's probably his problem.
But why not?
But now, when you talk about Raila, you can't talk about status quo. Raila has never represented status quo. So I don't really understand what he means when he says that we represent the status quo.
Raila said he is going to follow the footsteps of the incumbent. I mean, for any definition, that is maintaining status quo, whether good or bad.
But also, I think status quo is not a historic incident. Status quo is the prevailing socio-economic situation of a country at a given point in time. So the status quo of Kenya is a certain political dynamics. And Raila says that he will maintain that status quo. We are not talking about, someone being a rebel, someone being a troublesome political actor in the past. What we are talking about is the current political dynamic, the current political matrix. If you say you are maintaining, you are for the status quo.
Let me
And I
ask-
don't think there's a debate on that, surely. Why are we debating it?
Let me contextualize it. The circumstances and the context in which the following of the footsteps was said, what was it?
Exactly. This is what the point I was coming to. You see, I don't think Raila said he is going to fuata nyayo in everything. I think the context was in terms of development. There are certain projects that this government has put in place. We can agree with those projects. We can disagree on, the viability or whether those projects are value for money. But one thing that this country has had a problem with is continuity of, projects. I think if you look at the World Bank audit of projects that came out recently, they said there's 1 trillion Kenya shillings worth of projects that have completely come to standstill. And that was mostly inherited from the previous government. So because of the way things are done in this country, because you have to the only way to get money out of these projects is to start new projects and new procurement. What happens is you abandon projects. So I think the status quo that, Raila spoke about is projects. Probably he's referring to developments. But he's a guy who said, I'm going to jail thieves. I'm going to jail people who are corrupt. Is that the status quo? I don't think so. I think corruption is not being fought enough. I don't think people have gone to jail. I don't think the kind of things Raila is talking about are things that are happening now. So I don't understand when someone says he's going to basically. I think it's time for politics, but it's also time to be sober and speak about the context in which these kind of things
I
are
think
said.
the word context is very important, and Dr. introduced it. And context of Fatanyao, if you look at even the historic context of that word, it's never about completing roads or projects or buildings or schools. That's not Fatanyao. Fatanyao means ideological continuity. That's what it means. Fatanyao is an ideological philosophy. And that's what Raila meant. Raila didn't mean that, I will take the SGR to Kisumu. That is not Fatanyao. Fatanyao means the ideological spectrum of the Jubilee government will be maintained by Raila in all its facets. That's what it means.
Let's abide in that space for just a few minutes and assume that is what he meant. Now, anybody who, according to you, coming in to change that would be a disruptor of this ideological status, right? What things then, as you see, are inherently wrong and that need to come about and be changed?
A lot. If you look at the rule of law in this country during the last, since the handshake started, it has gone down. Kenya, many organizations that have talked about the rule of law in Africa or in the context of the developed world rank Kenya very poorly. The judiciary has been completely miscalculated. It has become part of, the political establishment. Corruption has gone over the roof. Kenya has never been this corrupt in its history. And that's obvious because there are no checks and balances. There's no opposition in government. The executive is a one-man show, in my humble view. The very structure of the Westphalian state, as established in many countries, no longer exists in Kenya. So someone telling us he will maintain that status quo is just not acceptable for this country because the status quo has failed in this country.
Can I mention just something in passing? When you consider that terminology and when it was popularized, the Fuata Nyayo philosophy, so to speak, which in essence really is not a philosophy, it's just a statement, contextually, in meaning and the import, perhaps has nothing to do with what we're discussing. It's a political statement that you make to put people at ease.
It's true. I think
No.
If I can expound on what I am saying, here was Moi coming into power. He has taken over from Jomo Kenyatta. That change of power means there are people who were in the previous government and who followed the previous president who will be unhappy with this new president because this is not their president. Among the things you want to do to set their minds at ease is to tell them, I am not going to make any drastic changes. And Moi didn't.
True.
Until we know what happened.
But you are simplifying something that is so important.
Actually,
yeah.
Is it a fallacy though?
I think so, very close to that.
No, explain to me why you think it's
Now,
a fallacy.
let me say, when you say that Fatanya was just a statement, you are revisionists. You are rewriting our history.
No, I'm actually not rewriting.
No, you are rewriting because when Moi said Fatanya, it was the most weighty political statement he made. It is an ideological reaffirmation of the status quo that existed during Kenyatta's time. It was the most bold statement that he will not change course.
Ahmednasir,
Yes.
who was it he making it for? Those who had been in the opposition and who had been incarcerated, when you use the word Fuatanyayo, was he telling them, I am going to continue doing the same?
But let me see.
He was not actually addressing the political elite. He was addressing Kenyans and saying, I'm not making change.
Okay, let's assume.
I will not improve.
Let's assume for.
I will not improve your status or predicament. I will continue that, that dynamics, that societal
Let's
configuration as maintained by Jomo Kenyatta.
No, let's.
And that is what now Raila is telling us. He will continue.
But Raila is
Wait.
not.
Let's assume. Let's
Moi.
assume what Ahmed is saying is right for a minute, and it's good that we've gone back to the Nyayo era, and we get our compass or direction from then. Now, if you look at that history, then you have Nyayo trying to hand over power to His Excellency the President, which he did not succeed. Then that was broken for a 10-year period during Kibaki. And then you have Jubilee coming back, which is, in my view, just a continuation of KANU, just a variant of KANU. And then you have now people trying to, move on from Jubilee to the next admin. Now, if you look at the history of the people who are now wanting to come to power, I don't see how anybody can, sit down somewhere and say Raila represents, the status quo. On the other hand, you have people who have been a product of KANU, Youth for KANU 92, people who worked with His Excellency the President, who Nyayo wanted to hand over, power to. So Ahmed can say anything he wants to say, but you cannot. You cannot look somebody in the eye and say Ruto represents change and Raila represents the status quo. No, wait. Let me finish. I want to also respond to what he said, because he qualifies everything he says and says there is a problem with the rule of law in this country, which is true. I do agree with that statement. Then he goes on to say that since the handshake, the foundations of those problems that we experience now, the rule of law issues we have, it all started in the first term of Jubilee. The securities bill, it was, the first 5 years of Jubilee, you might say you want opposition on the other side, which a lot of Kenyans always cry for, because they want Raila to oppose things and ODM to be on the other side. But despite that, despite having a strong opposition, we all know what happened, how things were done, how laws were forced on us. We could see a speaker sit somewhere and say, as many as those who agree say aye and say nay, and ayes have it. When we all hear it's no. So this issue of saying every problem we have in this country started after the handshake is in a fertile imagination in the minds of Ahmednasir and co.
Can I make two corrections? I think I have said it, and I don't know why my good friend is not getting it. Status quo is not a historic incident. Status quo is the current situation of a country. So when we talk of the status quo, we are not talking about the history of Raila or any other politician. Status quo means today, someone who will maintain today for tomorrow.
No, it's with reference to the past.
Yes.
There can be no status quo if there's no past.
No.
true.
The status quo is today.
Okay.
That's check the English word.
You can define it for
status quo
yourself.
means
We agree.
today.
Okay.
Today.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead. But
If
let
you
me-
want to talk about yesterday, it's history now.
Okay.
Yes. Now let me talk about the rule of law and why everything went downhill after the handshake. Kenya, like every country, has checks and balances: a parliamentary functioning, an executive functioning, a judiciary functioning, and civil society. The handshake brought that equilibrium to an end, in the sense that first the opposition joined the executive. Secondly, parliament became, emasculated completely, because people who used to run or play the role of the opposition play the role of government. So because there's no checks and balances, the traditional three arms of government completely disappeared. Because that three arms of government disappeared, the executive actually embraced everybody. There was no checks on it. It could do anything. That is why the rule of law went downhill after the handshake.
But
I've just proven to you.
Yes.
But
I
Ahmed,
just want to counter that.
Yeah.
Look, the 2010 Constitution created independent institutions and
Yes.
arms of
Yes,
government.
yes.
The legislature is independent of the executive. So politically it has some link, but it has independence. So whether the two sides of the aisle come together in the legislature, they should still be able to perform their function properly.
no.
We have seen this before, even before the Constitution. During the National Accord of the 2017 to 2013, 2007 to 2013, there was no opposition per se. Did we have a breakdown in the rule of law? We didn't.
What you address is there is what is called the empirical and the juridical. The juridical means what is written in the law, the statute, that parliament is like this, it's independent,
Yes.
That we have no problem. It's in the constitution. That is the juridical now. The law, the empirical means now the reality. What is the reality in Kenya today?
Okay, the reality.
So the reality is that
Yes.
Parliament has been emasculated, not because of handshake, but because of the weakness of the members of Parliament.
No. That's too simplistic.
We had a
simplistic,
handshake.
eh?
We had a handshake between Raila and Kibaki. Did Parliament become weakened?
Not
No,
only
no.
That, not only that, Eric. Not only that. Ahmed has not answered my question. I gave him evidence that whatever that is happening now, since the handshake, was happening even before, in the first term. We had the security laws, we had court orders being disobeyed, we had all those issues. So what I'm just basically telling him is, irrespective of which side Raila was, whether it's in the opposition, opposing in parliament, and his MPs fighting in parliament or not, the Jubilee government did whatever it wanted to do. So saying that things are happening now because Raila is basically, in a handshake
government.
agreement in government is just to be, it's a deception.
So you're saying
It's
Raila
deception.
is inconsequential either way?
It doesn't matter.
Whether he's in government,
the
he's in
Jubilee
opposition, Raila has no
government
consequence.
Had the numbers, they bulldozed everything. They gave us the security laws in the first term. They did whatever they wanted to do. Murkomen and Duale were majority leaders. They could pass any, appointment they wanted in parliament, and in fact they take pride in that. They've said in the first term they could do anything they wanted because they could push it. Now, blaming it on Raila, the failures of Jubilee, is simply a strategy that has recently been adopted by people who take credit for whatever good that Jubilee has done, but run away from every evil or bad things that they have done. And Ahmed is a number one person in that regard. He always points out problems of Jubilee.
I take pride in that because that's the truth.
Our guests this morning, Mohamed Wehliye and Ahmednasir Abdullahi, Senior Counsel. We are talking about the political formations in the country. Mohamed Wehliye is right there at the center of the supporters of the Azimio La Umoja political campaign. Senior Counsel Ahmednasir is right there, front and center, in support of the UDA candidate, Deputy President William Ruto.
That is a very serious statement.
There you go.
I have listen, Eric. I have never declared that I support the deputy president. I have not made up my mind.
Oh.
That is a fact.
Have you made up your mind that you do not support the Azimio Umoja campaign?
Yes, that I have made up my mind.
So
What's the difference?
So you know who will not be president, but you do not know who will be president.
Yes. I have made up my mind not to support Azimio.
No, this is.
But I have not, and I want this to be on record. And I've said many times, I don't know why people pigeonhole me, places I've not decided for myself.
Right.
I have not, so far, declared my support for the deputy president.
It's possible.
I may not, but
Okay.
that is my decision to make.
So far, are you
Ahmednasir,
impressed by what the deputy president is presenting?
Yes, I'm impressed. I'm intrigued.
And by the same token, you are definitely not intrigued by what Azimio is presenting.
No, absolutely, because I don't like funny things.
Okay. You've not been shy. You've not been shy about saying that clearly, Azimio, you're not supporting what it is that they have to say. But then that leaves a vacuum. If you don't fill it up and say, "I'm not supporting this, but this is actually
guys.
Do that.
what
That
I
vacuum
am."
doesn't
No,
exist.
no,
am
guys.
supporting.
No, I agree with you.
Guys.
I agree with you.
No,
There's a vacuum, but it's for me to fill at the right time.
I actually think you filled it.
Let you not be.
But I
let
think
you
it's not fair for people to feel for me.
No. Let you not be fooled by the semantics. Ahmed supports UDA. Ahmed supports the deputy president. Ahmed supports what they stand for. I mean, over the last few days, I think things probably are. The reality is dawning on him, maybe. Maybe he's trying to look for an exit strategy, or maybe he's trying to come to his senses. I don't know. But this issue of him saying, I don't support this, from his tweets, from what he stands for, there are two groups here now. I mean, there are other groups also, but the choice is very clear for Kenyans. And if you don't support one side, and every day you castigate the side that opposes UDA and the deputy president, then there's no way you can just come and say and tell us. Kenyans are not fools. Ahmed has 1-point-something million followers on Twitter, and it will be lack of respect on his side for his followers for him to write all he writes every day and then come and say, I don't support. So I think it's up to him. I mean, it's his choice. But sometimes it's not about what you have inside or what you feel, but it's what you portray, what you show. Ahmed has no room for Raila and Azimio. Ahmed has a lot of sympathy for UDA. Have you ever seen him say anything bad about UDA?
He says he's
the
intrigued.
deputy president? No. But have you seen him?
Have you seen me? Can you even show one tweet where I said UDA is the party?
No.
Show me one.
You don't have to.
I don't.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
But if every day you say everything that is bad about Azimio and what they stand for and Raila.
Civic education.
No, wait. It's not civic education. And you don't say anything bad about the other side. Kenyans are not foolish.
But
I think you should respect.
You are the one who's also creating this to be a two-horse race when we know that there are other horses in the race. There's the One Kenya Alliance, which has not told us who their presidential candidate is going to be or whatever direction they're going to take. We also know there are other people who come out and said, I'd like to be president. And we keep mentioning on the show, Reuben Kigame is one of those people. Probably Wehliye is looking at all those others. He knows clearly that, not Wehliye, Ahmednasir, he knows clearly he does not agree with what has been presented so far by Azimio Umoja and Raila Odinga presidency, but he can see, then what else am I looking at?
No, but you see, it's first of all, I can't speak for him. He's here. He's sitting here. He represents
He's already
himself,
spoken.
and he's spoken. I mean, but we're only looking at what we see. You see, we hear him speak. We hear him tweet. As we see him tweet. So we have the right to make our own conclusions, just like he has the right to make his own conclusions. He has views about Azimio. He has views about Raila. Okay, I cannot change his views, but he cannot also change our views about what he represents. Ahmed represents or stands for exactly what UDA advocates. He's never said anything against him. You will never see Ahmed wake up in the morning and tweet and say, oh, Ruto said this, Ruto is wrong, Ruto has done this, UDA guys are this. But every morning you see him wake up and say, Raila.
Actually, I've said,
in terms of
the UDA,
No,
when they had this Wado things, I tweeted. And I said Kenyans, Kalenjins especially, are entitled to elect people of their choice. I've said.
You've said that,
Yes.
but Ahmed, when we look at the whole picture, we know where you stand. You might now be coming to your senses. You might have seen the reality. You might be trying to
what
pull
reality?
out.
What
You
reality?
You're trying to pull
No,
back.
but what reality?
But
that
at the end of the day, at the end of the day, if you ask my 14-year-old son, who follows you on Twitter, then he would say,
You think the senior
know,
counsel is hedging his
but
bets?
can I say one thing?
Yes. What would you be looking for?
What is
actually,
this
as-
reality is talking of that may make me change my mind? I mean, if you look at the current political reality of this country, I mean, any sensible person will run from Azimio. Yes, that's the reality.
Okay.
That's the reality.
What is this reality?
If we shoot from the hip here
Yes.
and just ask, clearly here, if you're running away from something, chances are you're running to something,
Yes.
towards something.
Yes.
And if we're saying here, because at the end of the day, if you're saying it's civic education, let's just go with that, for the purposes of this discussion. And if we're saying that we're trying to show one side to the other, whichever other that may be, if you're running away from something, then what are we running to? And you've talked about change. What change are we seeing? Who is bearing this change? Status quo, as you've said again, presently, who is bearing this change? And what is it?
Yes, I mean, the whole idea about the election is that I agree with you. We are running from the status quo. We are running to a place we have not yet discovered. We are in pursuit of that discovery. That's why we have all these discussions. That's why we have all this discourse.
Mr. Ahmed,
Yes,
would you call yourself a change agent?
that has been my default mode all my life.
Right.
Yes.
When Jubilee came into power, and even prior to that, you are a well-known Kenyan and who has been associated with influence and power. If you didn't know, I am telling you.
yes.
Okay, now, by your own admission, you have said that you were very close to the Jubilee government when they came into power.
That's true.
You were in the JSC. I mean, let me repeat, you are a man of influence.
Kiasi.
You are kabisa. You are a legal mind. With all the influence that you have had, your closeness to political power, your support of political power, what changes did you bring about within that Jubilee government that first came in, whose first order of business seemed to have been to muzzle the press, among other things?
Oh my God. Were you in the country during that time?
Actually, I was, believe it or not.
Then how come you did not see the change that we brought?
Actually, the
You may need to remind him.
No, but
What change did you actually influence?
Yes.
It was Jubilee brought a seismic shift in everything when it came to power. I was in the JSC that time. We changed the judiciary that like nobody's business. We recruited a Supreme Court. We recruited a Chief Justice. We expanded the judiciary. We took it to every county in this country. We recruited about 4,000 employees. Judges alone, we had 40 judges when Jubilee came to power. We make it about 200 judges. I mean, access to justice was one of the most important things. And let me tell you, even the economy, I mean, the GDP expanded during the first 4 years. The infrastructure expanded. Jubilee put Jubilee put this country, and he's laughing in concurrence, not in opposition. So Jubilee put this country on a trajectory that was correct.
And in 5 short years, they've been able to change everything?
Yes. Then the handshake came. Then it disappeared. There was chaos. Jubilee imploded. Someone who was not elected assumed the power. Those who were elected were... Let me tell you, the handshake was the most disastrous political event in the history of country after the coup attempt of 1982.
Ahmed, I'm trying to understand how a handshake between two individuals will undo all this monumental right that you said. Please,
Yes.
so as if I'm a 2-year-old so that I can understand. how a handshake by these two individuals who've decided to come together on political lines, and then that handshake has destroyed all these wonderful things that you said you involved in the Jubilee government was able to put together.
If I was still
It must have been
teaching
very
at the
shaky
University of
grounds.
Nairobi, that can only be covered in a one semester course. Yes, it needs a course.
Let me tell
Yes, on how handshake, because handshake is a political event, has brought disaster into the country's dynamic. It's
Daktari, let me
it's a huge thing.
Let me jump in. You see,
but handshake is not the literal, just I think the good lady is taking handshake as a literal handshake between two men.
I get the imagery, but what I'm trying to understand is if you had such fundamental issues that you brought in as the Jubilee government,
Ahmed,
it's difficult to imagine how that imagery would come and in one move dissipate all that hard work that was done.
No, but you see,
if the foundation was as strong as you say it was.
Jubilee brought a lot of change during the first 5 years, and I think that nobody denies. That's why they were given a thumping majority in the 2017 election. That is why the difference between Raila and Uhuru was 1.4 million votes. Nobody has ever won on that margin, and it's because of the validation of the Jubilee program in the first 5 years that majority was on. Even Parliament, and my good friend is laughing because he knows Parliament was the same.
I am laughing,
but
Ahmed,
yes.
I'm laughing because at one level I love your capacity for propaganda.
yes.
And I'm listening, I'm saying, this man is a good propagandist. He is really very good at this.
But you see,
Are you saying I should change career? It's a little bit late in my life, but I can try.
You're already in the career, I'm just saying expand it.
But you see, Daktari, and I think that's what all this is about. You see, I've known Ahmed for a long, long time.
I think to be fair, you don't know me as a propagandist.
Ahmed, this is the situation room.
Yes,
it's not,
Chima,
there is no fire extinguisher here. So pole pole, kuja pole pole. Now Ahmed is a guy who has represented change. From his past, I knew him as lecturer at University of Nairobi, Law Society, president.
In 2003, this man was on the youngest.
So let me.
An amazing fellow then.
Yeah.
The fire is still there. It doesn't change.
Wait.
You guys are trying to distract Wehliye from his
Kabisa.
No. I'm actually supporting Wehliye because this man.
Go ahead,
No.
Mohamed.
I'm just
Go
giving
ahead.
you a bit of that history. He was in the anti-corruption. He resigned from anti-corruption, position, which he held at some stage. He fought in the judiciary, what at that time was known as the radical surgery. So Ahmed's history is known. Unfortunately, something happened to Ahmed, my friend. I don't know what happened to him. All of a sudden, the people he was castigating, he's the guy who came up with terms like test tube politicians. He's the guy who basically was so much anti the current people he now supports. And there's only one reason for that. And the reason is Raila. Ahmed has never liked Raila. If Ruto today and Raila come together, Ahmed will move elsewhere. So his problem is not that he supports a progressive agenda now, or he thinks that this issue of status quo and all that is, for lack of better word, malaki. It doesn't represent what he stands for. The only reason why he's supporting the other side is because he's not comfortable with the Raila. And the reason I have tried to investigate, I have done my best. I'm very close to Ahmed. He's a good friend of mine. I am still yet to find out what problems he has with Raila.
You, on the other hand, Wehliye, you are a strong supporter of Raila's.
Yes, I have been.
Is it a supporter of Raila or a supporter of what Raila represents, or supporter of the Raila messaging in the various political campaigns?
No, I
would assume that you supported Raila in 97 when he had a bid at the presidency.
Even
in
beyond
2007.
No, beyond that.
In 2013. In 2017. And now.
Let me tell
Is
you.
it the political message that he was representing then?
Yes.
or is it because it is
Okay.
Baba?
No, I'll tell you. I at the time when politics was very hot, I was a student in the University of Nairobi. Okay, and generally your political activism or you coming into politics starts at university. Before that, you might see now these days people coming into those things. But at the time when we were in university, we were people who were going to Ajip House. We were people who were with Raila's father. So I even go beyond Raila. Those are the people we thought at that time represented change. The Young Turks. We had people who were fighting Moi at that time. Then we had, of course, the split into Ford Asili, Ford Kenya. It was all about the politics of change. And as far as I'm concerned, we've not yet attained that change. So even when Raila failed to ascend to power, we continued to support because we stand for an ideology. We stand for something. You don't go with the person. So what happened is Moi was removed. We had a good period of Kibaki, which was a 10-year period, which I think is probably the best government Kenya has ever had. Especially the first term of Kibaki, and even the Grand Coalition government did a fantastic job. Some of the projects you see today are basically a creation of the Grand Coalition government.
When NDP moved to Kanu,
Yes.
did you support the move? Did you move with Raila to Kanu?
That was a very short period. We did not even have the time to think about it. Probably it was also a strategy, just like it is now, for Raila to try and see if he can change things. And, it was not ideas being brought together and NDP and KANU coming together and going forward and building the country. And, it wasn't that. It was just a short-term
Can I
strategy.
interject a little bit? Because I think Wehliye is an exhibit of the tragedy that's Kenya. Yes. He's saying that he follows one man from here to here to here to here, and he's still following. Yes. That's a tragedy for Kenya because he's following a man,
He's following the man,
who is
not the idea.
relentlessly pursuing power. And when you follow someone who is pursuing power for the sake of power, you become a shell yourself. You are devoid of thinking. I never follow anybody myself.
Wait,
Daktari. I never follow anybody.
Daktari, I have the right to respond.
I have
Yes,
you do. Yes.
I have the right to
I
respond.
don't follow people. Why should I follow someone
Get
who...
your right of reply.
Yes.
My right
Why-
of response.
Let me finish.
No,
Let
you
me finish.
You don't
I
have
haven't
to finish.
finished.
You
because
finished.
You don't have to finish.
You finished,
Ahmed,
Ahmed.
because what you're saying is nonsense. Anyway, I think
Naked
no,
pursuit
you see,
of power.
No,
Is it true?
No,
because
Eric,
that's the same.
It's a
My line
tragedy.
of
No,
questioning
Eric,
was trying to
Eric,
establish
I
earlier.
hope you're not one of them.
There is no.
My
That
line of
tragedy of
questioning
people following
was
others.
Wait.
I wanted to
Ahmed,
establish whether you actually pursue.
just say you are there.
You are order, gentlemen. I wanted to establish whether you are a supporter of Raila or whether you're a supporter of the message
Yes.
that Raila.
Okay,
presents.
I'll respond to that, but let me first deal with Ahmed. Ahmed has a problem.
The exhibit aspect or what?
Ahmed basically has described the exact problem him and the people who that are on his side suffer from, which is he has a problem with being principled. Okay, so he's saying you don't follow someone or an ideology day after day, year after year. If every Kenyan did that, if we stood for what we stand for, if we stuck to that, then today we would have the the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. So basically, Ahmed is turning something that is good into bad, and that's what the UDA and this Ruto Brigade stand for. They have the capacity to turn things around. Everything that is good, they demonize. I'm a principled person. So what he's just described is someone who is principled. From 1980s up to now, I stand for, coming
Raila.
back to your question, not Raila. I stand for what Raila stands for. Raila is progressive. Raila is a leftist, politician, which I subscribe to. Raila stands for, Raila has always stood for human rights. Raila has always stood for. Now, Ahmed has a problem. He says,
I think we
Raila
need to be fair here.
No, wait. Ahmed has a problem.
No,
Ahmed says, let me finish.
We need to be fair here.
Ahmed, let me finish. Just give me 1
okay.
minute. Ahmed has a problem when he says Raila is pursuing power. Tell me any politician who is in this game for anything else other than to ascend to power.
Yes, but that's the
You
point.
cannot
That's
do
the
what you
point.
want to
No.
do
Without-
cannot
the
Yes, yes.
power.
without the power.
No. That is the point. Now we are on the same pedestal. We're on the same wavelength. You have agreed with
I don't think
me
you have
that
come to the
Raila is now pursuing power. That's what I've been saying all along.
Every politician
The-
does that.
Yes.
And what's wrong with that?
There's
wrong
no.
with that?
Yes, I have no problem with that. But don't take the principal aspect out of it. Take the progressive aspect
no,
out of it.
no, but you
take the
pursue-
reform aspect out of
No,
it.
but
If you say
pursue power
yes,
using certain
no.
principles.
You know, even when he was describing Raila, he's describing Raila that is fictional.
But Ahmed, do you not see that you have a prescription which is very detailed that you seem to want everybody to subscribe to?
Exactly.
And so when they don't, then suddenly they are not quite the human beings you thought they were to begin
Doctor,
with.
actually, to the contrary, I'm a free soul. I want people to think on their own. I want them to fly the way they want. I want them to be free from this
Actually, you don't.
demigods, political demigods. I want them to be free from this tribal, what are they called, kingpins. I want them to be on their own. That is where
Ahmed,
I stand.
What you're saying represents somebody I used to read about, because I've met you for the first time from 2003 onwards. That's when you came to the limelight. What you're saying represents that.
Exactly.
But what you've morphed into in the intervening years is represented more by words than deeds.
No, but you see the imagery you form about me, I have no control. Yes.
What I do have
Yes,
control about.
yes,
What I do have
I can't
control-
control. Even Wehliye has similar. I can't control.
Actually, you can.
But what
because-
I'm telling you, Daktari, is let us, if you want us to change this country, this obsessive loyalty to individuals, like my friend said, that he followed the Raila 92, he was with him 97. He was, come on,
No,
guys.
but don't you see the thing that I am saying? That is how he wants to pursue his political interests. And what is wrong with that? The world over, people have similar followings.
Senior Counsel Ahmednasir Abdullahi and Senior Advisor, Saudi Central Bank, Mohamed Wehliye. Let's begin with the day's proverb, CT.
Kawaida ni kama sheria.
Kawaida ni kama sheria.
Yeah.
English.
Habit is second nature.
I think then Ahmednasir will agree with that.
You see, if you follow, I am not a keen follower in the sense that I don't read what senior counsel has to say on a daily basis, but I do follow. The one thing that I've admired about his persistence, there is a modern terminology for what he does, and he does it very well. There's only one other person who I think does it that well in this country. He's a spin doctor.
The other person is who?
Muthui.
Okay, it's good. He's in good company.
Yes, because the perspective that spin doctors bring may have nothing to do with the truth.
Yes.
But it certainly sparks your imagination. It gets you thinking.
True.
But many times it's that very truth that they use, and they give you a perspective that you may not have thought of. And they say, okay, fine, this is where you are headed, but consider this. Yes. Now, the reason why it makes headlines and headwaves is because many people hadn't quite looked at it in that same way. But what I've also realized about spin doctors when I look at them, they are very subtle pursuers of power.
Yes.
You will not see it because it's not overt. It's not in your face. But because of the way they go about their business, when I say they pursue power, they are influential. When somebody is influential, they have power.
That's good.
So they influence public perception and opinion.
They influence a great more than just public perception. But public perception is important. And when public perception looks for them to point them in directions, they have power.
And to continue with that conversation, Daktari, the side Ahmed represents is all about that. It's all about image. It's all about, it's a movie. They've put up a very good movie, an Indian movie. You know the Indian movie where
With the music and the dancing.
and a guy catches a bullet and the impossible happens. And
Yes.
over the last 2 years,
And he flies in the air.
We've been treated to a movie by this so-called hustler nation. It is just a movie, nothing else. I mean, wheelbarrows being distributed, music, crowds being doctored, small people being hired to sing when, their guy is there, and to boo anyone else, and, MPs following one person, and money being distributed, and all that. This is a movie. It's about, it's a show. And it's a show about nothing.
Wehliye,
Did you used to watch Seinfeld? Some few guys who wake up in the morning, they go to
About
town.
nothing, but it was entertaining to see.
Yeah, they just talk, they come up, they talk about what happened today.
but
And
Wehliye,
they used to call it the show about nothing. And it was the most successful, comedy series. So what these guys are treating us to is to turn very serious issues of governance, very serious issues of economic issues into a movie, into a show.
Wehliye,
And we know how these kind of things end up.
Wehliye,
Yes.
one could argue that all political maneuverings are movies, but you cannot deny that the hustler narrative was an empowerment narrative, and a fairly successful empowerment narrative, because everything that people say, yes, they may have import, but they didn't have the impact.
No, but
You speak of it like it's dead, CT.
No, but the point Wehliye raised about the movie is so important. You know why? It shows the contempt the elites have for the common man. Yes. I mean, he's so contemptuous of what UDA propagates in terms of its narrative that he thinks it's a movie. He can't see the perspective from the other side. Yes. He's part of the elite, that are holding power and wants to hold the power. So when UDA comes with this wheelbarrow things, I mean, he's so condescending that he's in. Have you heard of that movie, that Indian movie? Where, my friend, this is not about people catching bullets. This is about bottom up.
So do
You want to
find-
empower the poor people
Okay,
from Mandera,
so
from
Ahmednasir,
Mersabit, from
Ahmed,
Nakuru. Yes,
I'm
yes.
hearing
yes.
you saying
I
now
mean,
that
my
you
God.
agree.
But,
so
this,
do you agree with this narrative?
Yeah, 1 minute, I will come. If I think UDM come to power, such statements, that belittle the common man, that see him as that, will be criminalized. It will be an
Then
offense.
maybe- actually,
It
you
will be an
know what?
offense.
Maybe then we need to give Wehliye a round of applause here, because what
yes.
he's been able to do then is draw you out from that corner, and we can hear now what you
Exactly.
might actually be supporting.
No,
and
no,
is
no.
that the case?
No, no.
Exactly.
For the benefit of our
He
audience.
didn't realize that.
No.
He didn't realize
For the
that.
benefit
But
of our
he did that.
audience, I am giving the opposite side, the view on the other side.
No, he's talking
But
about-
I'm not UDA.
No, no.
That one you can talk to the
Eric
take to the
and
bank.
Daktari, and sorry, you see, Ahmed talks about contempt, and he says, it's about poor people, and people are looking down
the
upon.
wheelbarrow guy, the guy who pushes the wheelbarrow, yes.
Just give me a minute.
Mama Mboga.
Looking
Boda
down
boda.
upon border and all that. In fact, it's the opposite. What this hustler narrative is about is to take advantage of people who are poor, to try and use them to ascend to power. And they're using it in the wrong way. Now, if you look at this country, we've had economic challenges. We've had COVID. Before COVID, we have had serious economic issues in terms of the amount of debt we have accumulated. We're using a lot of our resources to pay that debt. And because there is this hunger for money, there's all these taxes. People who are traders have basically not been able to do business. And if you look at that, most of these people come from Central Province. I mean, my community are traders, okay? And I relate to the people of Central Province because they are also traders. We know what they're going through. You cannot import anything now and make money. You know what happens in Nyamakima, we know the taxes and all that. This is why then someone comes up and says, because these people are desperate, because these people have been put into a very, very tight corner, anything goes. I'll go and give them wheelbarrows. I'm going to give them some small cash. I'll distribute bananas from, Karai in eastern suburbs of Nairobi. People will come and rush to me, and I will create this narrative. So in fact, what Ahmed is accusing the other side of is exactly what these people. I mean, someone
But
comes.
do you think?
Eric, wait.
Actually,
He talks about.
We are hearing
wait,
a confession here.
Wait,
confession.
wait, Ahmed. He's talking about. This issue of dynasties and people who have and they're looking down upon people who don't have. Now, at the same time, a guy lands with 6 choppers, each costing billions, in the middle of a slum and tells them, I am a hustler, and takes advantage of the fact that they are facing economic. Have you seen wheelbarrows being distributed in Mandera? Have you seen wheelbarrows being distributed in Rift Valley, in Elgeyo Marakwet? Why are wheelbarrows and all other tools, sewing machines and everything being distributed in Kiambu County only?
Now let me answer.
No, wait.
Let me answer. You're asking a question.
I'm asking a question.
in
the context of what you basically are saying.
You're posing a question, and I want to pose the same question to you. So you've said, yes, people who have been traders and now they are at a position where they're feeling that their businesses are in danger, that they are not able to eke out a living from what they know.
Correct.
Which is trade.
Correct.
Do you think that because of their current situation,
yes,
then they've also lost their ability to think, to discern?
Yes.
And to be able to tell that what you're telling me is actually not going to be solving my problem. Don't you think that they understand their problem, their root cause of the problem, and the solution out of the problem?
Yes, they do understand. And there are 2 points here. One, they are being taken advantage of. There are people who've got money. That money has actually been stolen from them. It's their taxpayers' money. Okay? If you look at what happened in Jubilee, the first term, there are people who stole lots of cash, people who stole projects, people who we have seen projects completely disappear from the face of the earth. Okay? Billions of shillings. That money has caused problems in the sense that it has led to people being taxed more. It has created economic problems. And because you have created those economic problems, you yourself have stolen that money. You're now coming to tell me I am going to solve a problem
using the same money.
Using the same money.
Wait. Wehliye, Wehliye is raising 2 competing economic models, but he doesn't get it. He's saying that the people of Northern Kenya who are traders, the people of Kiambu who are traders, have been sort of nudged out because of the taxation. When you tax those kind of people, they are, he's describing what they call actually the trickle-down economy, where you tax people and you leave the rich grow richer. Then the competing model is this one of bottoms up. These are the 2 competing models, and that's why it's resonating with the common man. And instead of just the taxation of the common man, and he has agreed and he has said it, it has taken many people out of business. Now this UDA model is the opposite of that. This taxation of the common man. Let me finish.
How is it going to work?
The taxation of the common man
is going to create a fund
will not be there. You tax people who are rich.
No, we haven't.
Let me finish.
Ahmed.
The people who are rich, who are not paying taxes, my friends. There are many, many rich Kenyans who are not paying their corporate taxes.
Is that the UDA message, though?
Yes, those are the people you will tax.
They're only going to be taxing
so that
the
you
people at the top?
finance the bottom
Ahmed.
up.
So the people at the bottom are not going to be taxed.
What do you tax a poor man with a wheelbarrow?
So you only create 100 billion shilling fund and give them to the people at the bottom.
Yes, you will tax the rich people.
Eric, the
Wait,
poor
Eric,
man
I have
is
not.
always taxed.
We have not.
Always.
We have not yet.
I'm not talking of VAT tax.
We
of course,
have,
it's
we
there.
have not yet reached a point where we're discussing the different economic models. What I was trying to basically bring out is the fact that what these guys are doing is they're saying we're going to do bottom up. I'm asking the question, who took those people to the bottom? who took those people.
The status quo, the guys who are in power now.
Before you bring
Yes,
them,
yes.
wait, before you bring them from the bottom
Yes.
to up,
Yes.
let's ask the question, how did they
How did
end
they-
up
how did they
not
end up
only
at
in
the
the
bottom?
bottom, but the bottom of the bottom?
Listen to me.
Why?
Listen.
It's because you stole their money.
No, that's
It's
simplistic,
because
you know.
you looted their money. It's now you
Very
coming back
simplistic.
with their money and then creating this class war where you're telling people, especially in Central Province, I have a problem with this whole shenanigans of UDA and the Hustler Nation. Why is the Hustler Nation very active in Central Kenya? It's not because they're looking for votes in Central
probably
Kenya.
because it
because they
resonates.
know the people of Central Kenya are very angry because of the economic situation in this
probably
country.
because
No,
it
not
resonates.
only.
That's very simple.
If I use strong words, my friend will not be happy. But he knows. He knows.
Because you get
he knows the
personal.
word
He
Yeah,
knows
that's
my
what
views
you
about
don't-
this.
if
You know,
you don't have to.
my friend, Central Kenya is the heartbeat of Kenya. Yes, whether it's economically, whether it is the number, whether it's even the political history of Kenya. I mean, so when you have a good idea, that is the place you.
How exactly is it the heartbeat?
Dr. you
Answer the question.
It's the heartbeat politically. It's where the political leaders come from. The guys who rule you and me, they come from Central Kenya. And that will be the norm for the next 50, 100 years. It is also a lot of things, you know, in terms of what heartbeat is. So if someone, it's close also to Nairobi.
You do know that you have avoided my question. Huh?
Which is?
What is the heartbeat? Because the heartbeat is the essence and the very, very center of life.
Yes.
In the absence of that, you're dead.
But I said the political heartbeat of Kenya, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yes,
Even
yes.
if you
But
say...
we're not discussing politics.
Oh, no, no, no.
No, we are,
see,
Central Kenya is the political heartbeat of Kenya.
I am saying...
Ahmed
yes,
is
yes.
just running away.
The peripheries don't make decisions like Central Kenya does. And
Ahmed,
that is something,
Ahmed,
if you
no,
don't
all I'm saying-
internalize,
all I'm
you
saying,
pay the
sorry.
price.
We may end up getting caught up in a rat of the semantics of
If-
the heartbeat.
If I may just say one thing, the history of this country has shown us that political leadership does not come into being without some sort of coalition.
Correct.
Right from independence. That is why I was challenging that. But we can move on.
That's not
But-
true.
but Dr.
No,
okay.
Dr.
Wait, one minute. Ahmed, one minute.
Dr. That is complete fallacy. I mean, you are right in history.
I'm not rewriting it.
Eh.
Kanu and Kadu came together. What would you?
That was,
what would you
what
call
coalition was there? That was not a coalition. That was absorption. They were absorbed. There was no coalition.
My friend.
Well, it's like you want to tell me when Raila with his LDP went to Kanu, that was a
LDP.
coalition. It was not a coalition.
that? Actually, semantics.
No.
Okay, let's not get into that.
So it's not a coalition.
Let's get into that. My point, Eric, is very simple, and my point is, we have. Yeah.
No. He's having a word with the producer. You
Yeah.
just continue.
We have a problem here, which we are asking the same people who created that problem to solve, and they're coming out to tell us we had inherited a very good economy, okay, that was doing well with manageable or sustainable debt levels. We have gone into a borrowing spree. We have looted that money, especially in the first term, okay? And we know everybody has, people who had nothing, who were first-time MPs, are now flying in choppers, okay? We use this.
so why
Just
don't you
let me
finish.
let
him
me
finish.
let me have
Let him finish.
a
You're in
proper
power.
thought.
You're in power.
No, wait.
Let him finish.
wait.
These
So
helicopters.
we use
Why
those.
they're not impounded.
We use the same choppers that we bought using stolen money to go to poor people and tell them your problem is because you are at the bottom and we want to get you out of the bottom. I mean, of course, there has always been, poverty. I'm not saying they created it, but it worsened during that period. And you're now asking them, and you're talking about bottoms up. You now selling yourself. When it comes to projects, you basically stand up and say, we have done 10,000 kilometers of roads, we have done SGR, we have done this. When it comes to the problem side, you say, oh no, there's nothing I could have done. I was not the person who was, at the top and who was in charge. Let me tell you one thing. UDA are a
But
very...
Eric, in all fairness, we're listening to Azimio's talking points.
Not talking points, just
Yes,
1
yes.
minute. We are now...
I thought we were supposed to discuss something.
Eric,
because we have heard of Azimio's
we
points.
have UDA, we have Hustler Nation. They are a variant of Jubilee. They are a variant of KANU. Like COVID has variants? These guys are a COVID variant of Jubilee and KANU. Nothing else.
So Jubilee Party is in Azimio.
Yes.
So the Jubilee original, the one from
The one that
the one that started in 2019 in that place in China. What's it?
Yes.
Wuhan.
The Wuhan
Yes.
Jubilee is in Azimio.
Yes.
Now the Delta
Yes.
is the one that is UDA.
UDA.
Correct.
So they're both. Aren't we then
They're
seeing
cut
just
from the same
it's the
cloth.
same it's the same
Well,
politicians just coming to tell us
Yeah,
the same
but
thing.
the mutation, the
bottom
mutant,
line
the
is
mutant
there are
delta,
people who are suffering in this
the
country.
the mutation is worse than the original. So basically, if you call Jubilee the Wuhan Jubilee, and you call this other one Delta, we know how bad Delta was. So the mutation of Jubilee is actually worse than the original Jubilee. Having said that, Jubilee now is in Azimio. It has been diluted, even if it exists, okay? Its shareholding in the Azimio family is probably, a small percentage. It's not as influential as it was. So you cannot then compare it to the Delta variant, which is basically the UDA.
Are you sure?
Which
Which
is
has taken over the world,
mutating,
eh?
Are you
which
sure
is going to
Jubilee-
kill Kenya.
Are you sure Jubilee is not pulling the ropes in Azimio?
No. Why not? I mean, why should you say that?
We have seen. I mean, just look at what we are seeing.
No, I mean, going forward, you see, what happens now is that there's a handshake. There are people who came together. There are people who also on the other side are basically saying we have to go back to one-party state. You're forgetting that. Okay, we know what happened when TNA and URP came together. People were kicked out. A strong Jubilee thing was created. And the same people who were kicked out, the same people who were punished by that one-party system are today asking people to come to UDA. Why? Because they want to do the same things once they come to power.
But
This is the same logic.
Yes, what you're saying is true. Oh, no, let me call it a truism. Political contest is precisely what we're discussing here, and everyone trying to put their best foot forward. Now, in our country, it doesn't just involve words; it involves movement.
Correct.
All right? And one of the things that our politicking also is characterized by, is people trying to present those whom they're in competition with as anything. Think of any adjective that describes incompetence.
Correct.
But then again, that's where we must now go back to, again, something that my friend Ahmed here, my newfound friend Ahmednasir, doesn't seem. It's called history.
Yes.
Because we have to ask, this person says this, we have heard. But is there anything in your political track record that can indicate that you are able to do this? And by example, you have done in the past when you've had a position and you've had the power to do so.
I think, Dr. you have raised a very important point. History.
Now you're friends.
History, eh? History.
We're friends from the very beginning.
History,
We're
actually.
becoming better friends.
History, eh? And that is your nightmare, especially, my friend, that is a nightmare. Because when you look at the history of the competing political forces in this country at present, any rational person will make his mind that you cannot be in Azimio. That is if history is your point of reference. You know why? Because Azimio's history is what? Political opportunism. Nothing else. Taking advantage of political opportunities. Cohabitation, that is, political Let me finish. Let me finish, Dr. Let me finish, Dr. Cohabitation, yes, that serves temporal interest. Breaking up unions when that interest has no fire in it. So that history is very important for me. And that is
Very
why.
good. I'll give you that
And that
history,
is
Ahmed.
why. Let me finish.
So give us that history.
And that is why I cannot support Azimio. It's political opportunism in its worst form.
Okay.
Right from LDP.
Okay.
Right from
Okay.
what is it?
Let me respond to
Kibaki.
you.
Right from
I'm
this.
itching to respond to you.
Wait. Right up to the handshake.
Called
So
NASA.
Nas, all those things.
Azimio.
So, my friend, when your ideology is based on personal strategy to capture power outside the legal framework of the country, my God, I will never trust you.
Excellent. Very good.
I will
Now
never
let's go
trust
back
you.
to history. Yeah.
Yes.
He has basically now given us the history of Azimio. He has given us the history of Raila. Okay. Now let's look at the other side. And he's talking
Let's
about.
talk about the history of.
Just
Do
one
you
minute.
agree with the history I have narrated?
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Okay, then that's the end of it.
Okay, I agree. But I'm giving you the history. He's talking about political opportunism. He's talking about political
Conmanship.
whatever you call it. Now,
Cohabitation.
the other side he supports, Ruto was in Kano, was he not? Is that a fact?
It is.
He was a YK 92. He was in Kano. He was a Kano minister.
Yes.
He was a Kano assistant minister.
Yes.
Then we came.
ODM.
He came to ODM. Was Ruto in ODM or not in ODM?
He was.
He was in ODM.
Yes.
Very good.
URP.
Then Ruto came and formed a URP and sold it, literally for cash. Okay, to Jubilee, or of course.
He sold it for cash. How?
He sold. I mean, he was the most sought after person in 2013. Okay, I remember the cartoons that used to be drawn where you see him as a
He's the
beautiful
bride.
girl and Uhuru wants
Everybody
him
trying to woo
and
him.
Raila wants him.
Okay.
Okay, he decided to go with one side. He went and formed URP and joined TNA and came into office. He decided that, right from 2013, I'm going to become a president in 2022. He did not even wait, to work and then decide to move, to campaign later on. He started day one to campaign. He bulldozed everything. He fought. He was fought. First term, it was a bit stable. Second term, we know what happened. He now again came up with UDA. Okay? How many times has Raila changed parties? How many times has Ruto changed parties? We have the numbers. We have the facts. We don't have to just say, I mean, this is a problem in Kenya. It's not
We're
a
talking
problem
about
of
between-
Azimio.
Between which year and which year?
Yeah?
Between
Between the time Ruto left university to
So
today,
let's say from 92.
yes, how many parties has he been to?
No,
Ford,
wait.
Kenya,
Before you answer.
NDP,
But no.
LDP, ODM.
Yeah. Then
No,
the other side?
no,
Kanu, in between.
Eric, listen. I mean, my
it's-
friend
it's-
has went completely off the rail. We are not talking about people changing political parties because there's a lot of mutation.
What are we
Kanu
talking
was there. There was this for the silly.
What are we
the,
talking
the,
about?
the history we are talking about
Yes.
is someone
In a-
with his political unit going
Seeking
into an
power.
agreement with
Seeking
this.
power.
He gets into that political arrangement. He's given power. Then he hopes he will inherit. When it doesn't happen, he breaks. Then the cycle is repeated. That is the history
But
we are talking
You're
about.
describing Ruto.
No, wait. No, wait.
You're describing Ruto.
don't just drop names. We have no problem with someone being in Kanu, then they go to another party, then they go to another party. That's normal in Kenya. The history I was talking about is Raila being in LDP, doing a merger or cohabitation with Kanu. He is made Secretary General of Kanu. He is not given the baton, he bolts out. He forms SNAC, he is given some power, he bolts out. So, I mean, that is the history I'm talking about, which has culminated in the handshake. Yes. Handshake, he has taken power when the electorate, including myself, in 2017 and 2013, denied him.
So are you saying the ultimate goal-
We refused to give him power.
So-
But now he has taken power through the back door.
Is
But
the
is that-
ultimate
is
goal,
that a
according
problem?
to you, then purely seeking power or hoping to bring some kind of change in the country based on ideological elements?
No.
What are we talking? What are you saying exactly?
No.
You're saying you don't see
What are you
evidence,
saying?
evidence
That
of
there's no
anything
evidence
else.
of him wanting to bring about any change in the country aside from him just wanting to be in a position of power.
If you look at the history of Raila, and I have done it, he has never believed in change for the sake of the country. Raila has been very good, and I commend him. He has been ruthless in his pursuit of power. So don't mix the two issues. He is legitimate. He is legitimate. He legitimately pursuing power. I have no problem. He is entitled to take power. And that's what he has been doing for the last 40 years.
But you're saying don't confuse it with the thinking that he might be wanting to bring about change.
Yes. Reform. He is not a reform agent.
Why wouldn't he be able to use that position
What's
to
your
get
evidence?
that?
No. The evidence, look at his history. My God.
No, but Raila has never ascended to power.
Who told you?
Why?
Raila has been in government for 30 years.
He's been a prime minister.
Ahmednasir, you are saying that the history of Raila Odinga has been pursuit of power. And then Ndu asked you, but is it pursuit of power for the greater good, or is it pursuit of power for just personal gain? And do you have any evidence that shows the contrary, that what he's been preaching to the public, that I'm pursuing power so that there can be greater good for the community, for the society, is not the case?
No, actually, in most cases, 80% or 90% of pursuit of power is for personal gain. I mean, the public good, is a byproduct of that personal pursuit. I mean, if you want to change society, there are many ways of changing society. The priests, the imams that are in our mosques, the MCS. Those are change agents also. These guys in the NGO. I mean, these guys who are in the slums making civil society. That is change in itself. But when you want to take ultimate power, and you have a track record of that pursuit for 30 years, 40 years. I think even the 80% I was talking about goes close to 99%, because for such a long time, 30, 40 years, you have been pursuing power relentlessly to capture it. So, I mean, it's quite obvious. I mean, even most of the changes, we have had in these countries, it was change to help the political elites get power in a much easier way than at that point in time in the present.
Was it for the greater good, though?
I told you, greater good is a byproduct, for example. I mean, there are some things when someone is pursuing to get power that happens So like
when you want to catch fish and you throw your net into the ocean, you might catch some prawn, you might catch some crabs and other things along the way. So you're saying that, all right, it was personal power, but along the way, then we caught some, better development for the country here and there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the example.
No, but is it entirely true if you look at the history of this country? Because this push that brought about the new constitution, surely there were many players in it. You know this well because
he's among the players.
Yes, exactly. Now, are you telling me that at the time people like you were pursuing it was for personal good, or was it for the good of the people?
No, but those are two different issues.
How different are they?
Daktari pole. Daktari, those are two different issues.
Exactly. Tell me
when
how.
you talk about the constitutional making process, that was a national calling for the whole country. It started in late 80s. It went into the 90s, and it came to an end in 2010.
It started like much earlier than that, but it caught fire during the periods that you speak about.
Yes. No, actually, constitutional overhaul started in the 90s.
Yes, it did.
Those other issues were amendments, and that's my area. Don't go in.
So
that one was a country as a unit that wanted that change. It was not someone pursuing power at that point.
The country.
But you see, let me come in here. I mean, first of all, there's nothing wrong with pursuit of power. Okay, you have, as Ahmed said, every citizen has the right to vie for any office. Now, the pursuit of power also comes with certain things. Sometimes you might not get into that power, but in the process of trying to pursue that power, there are certain changes that come about. Okay, if you look at the history of Raila Odinga from the 80s till today, he might not have become commander-in-chief of the armed forces in this country. He might not have been given the sword. But throughout that period, he was pursuing power. There are certain changes that came into place. There are certain orders that were created. There are certain checks and balances that were holding because he was pursuing power. I mean, if you look at the Section 2A, the young tax, Raila was part of the young tax, okay? Section 2A was a problem. It would not have been removed if it were not for people like Raila and Orengo and Manyara and Anyona and, Shikuku and all those guys. Then we came to, the constitutional making process. A number of times we failed, but he was still,
pushing for it.
Pushing for it. So when you look at, the role Raila played,
he might influenced change.
He might not have become president and put his ideas into, practice, but because he was pursuing that power, because he was putting the government on its toes, he was always pushing for something. A lot of good things have come about it, and those good things are some of the good things Ahmednasir
and you cannot
himself
fault him for that.
Enjoys today. Sure. Ahmed enjoys more freedom of speech today. Ahmed enjoys more freedom of association today than he would have enjoyed if it were not people like Raila Odinga.
Sure,
so I think it is very, very sad to see the situation in which my friend Ahmed is in today, because for a person who has also been part of that change in his early career, he's denying a reality that exists today, that Raila over the last 30 or so years has created a lot of changes that would not have been created if he did not pursue power the way he's pursuing it.
Maybe Ahmed is feeling that you are giving too much credit to one person and not everybody else.
No,
who
I'm not giving too much.
including him.
No. I am not giving.
Eric played a role.
No, Eric. I am not
I
giving.
just want to make a distinction that there is pursuit of power that is the dominant driving force of Raila. That change have come through those I have not denied. I've told you there's 80% or 20%. I said it goes slower when you pursue power for such a long period of time like he was doing. But there is some fallacy, very cheap fallacy that Kenyans peddle. Oh, the freedom we enjoy is because of Raila. The streets we walk is because of Raila. The vote we ballot is because of Raila. That historically is
partially
bullshit.
If we look at
Ahmed,
wait.
I
think this is really important because we're at a very critical time in 2022 where people are going to make a decision about who the next government is going to be. And as important as history is, there's a present situation in which Kenyans are abiding today and asking the question that who is going to deliver them from the current problems that they're facing, whether it is education issues, whether it is health issues, whether it is marginalization issues, whatever the case may be. And the dominant question in their minds today is who is going to deliver
In whose
the
hands?
solution?
Yes.
Who is going to deliver
No,
the
but you see,
solution? Taking the historical individual issues into consideration.
That's the question.
No.
That's
Who
the question of the
Wait,
year.
Ahmed, wait.
Wait.
Ngoja kidogo.
And the
She has
see,
asked a
I know
question.
you will answer that question, Eric.
You want to answer a previous question.
No. What I
But
have
it's
a
good
what
to
I have
answer
a
the question
problem.
when it's hot.
No. What I have a problem with is this is what Ahmed says. Yeah, this is what Ahmed says, that Kibaki pursued power because he wanted to change Kenya. Uhuru Kenyatta pursued power
No, I didn't say
because he wanted to change Kenya.
didn't say that.
Or whatever it is. Ruto is pursuing power because there is something he wants to change in Kenya. But Raila pursues power and has been pursuing power
Eric,
for his
that's not
personal
fair.
gain.
That's
I mean,
not fair.
that's
He did not
that's
compare.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
He did not compare.
But that's-
No,
that's what
actually,
he alludes
no,
to.
I am not alluding. Uhuru pursued power to get power. Kibaki pursued power to get power. That's what I'm saying. You don't put words in my mouth.
just the percentage.
When politicians pursue power, they do for their selfish gains.
So why
that
do you
there
have
are
a
certain
problem?
byproducts.
Why do you have a problem with Raila pursuing power?
I have no problem. The problem I have is you are saying he has brought the freedom I have. He has not.
Okay,
He has
but you know,
not.
I'm still going back.
But let
So
me
let's
ask you a
come back
question.
now to
No,
Indu's question.
yes, she has answered a very important
In
question.
whose hands are we safe?
Yes, she said, considering the problems we have, considering the difficulties we have, considering all these issues we have, who should we trust as we make decision in 2022. Very important.
Yes.
I will ask you, who has brought those problems? Handshake.
Jubilee.
No.
Handshake.
That's where we
Jubilee.
No, no.
Point us-
Yes.
point us in the direction in which we're supposed to be
Yes,
going.
absolutely.
How so?
Because you have to identify who has brought the problem.
And
And that problem has been brought by Jubilee, my beloved Jubilee, of course, and the handshake. So
Again,
the
who you're
solution,
running from. But
No.
I keep asking you, and I asked you before.
the solution
You
has
can
to come
run
from outside.
You're running from
Okay,
something, but where are you
In
running
fact,
to?
No, in fact, he
Where
said
are you
the
running
solution
to?
has to come out of
outside those
of
two
that.
groups.
Okay.
Outside those two
Now,
groups.
So
Jubilee,
once you identify
the problem,
the source of your problem,
you have to look for the solution.
and the solution cannot be
Those who cause the
those who
problem.
cause the
Yes,
problem.
yes.
And
Which
those
is
who cause the
Azimio
problem
and Jubilee.
is Azimio and Jubilee A, Jubilee B.
No, Jubilee, I think you called it Wuhan.
Wuhan
Yes,
and
yes.
Delta.
What about
Delta
the
is
Delta?
outside.
Look, Eric. Look,
So
Eric,
for the
Eric,
solution,
Eric,
I think the
Eric.
good question, the solution
Is
now
One Kenya Alliance.
is one Kenya Alliance,
A viable
maybe
solution.
URB, maybe the revenue you talked about. I mean, those was.
But you know
But I think it's a big mistake for Kenyans to think that the guys who caused the problem
Yeah.
can give us a solution.
Can we
That's
agree-
our
Can
point
we-
of departure. That's
can
our
I
point of
agree?
departure.
No. Can I? First of all, I'll say two things. One, there is a perception issue. There is, John Major, when he was the Prime Minister, there was this debate or the famous saying or talk about being in office and being in power. Okay, so there is this perception that after the handshake, that Raila is running the show, or he is partly running the show. We have not elected Raila into any office. Okay, he could do whatever he wants to do. Okay, if it is a problem of him now running, the country, it is a problem for Jubilee and the president himself. It is not about Raila. If today I was given that opportunity to come and participate in running of the office without being elected and making very critical decisions as people are making it, I would take it. Okay, I mean, it's not Raila's problem that he's at least, flying in a helicopter or whatever it is.
He's enjoying the trappings
But
of
all
power.
we know, and all Kenyans know, Kenyans are not stupid, is that he is not the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He is not the head of
that's
government.
division- you're talking of division of labor.
Wait. He is
Division of
not,
labor.
Let me finish. He is not head of government. He has not appointed people into office. There is no responsibility that, that we have put on him. For every right, there is a responsibility. We have not given him the responsibility because he has no rights that he enjoys because
But he has
he's
usurped
in
the power.
elected
you know,
office.
he has usurped the power.
Okay.
That's the point you are not making.
No, wait.
Yes.
I've given.
You are you
if,
see-
if he can usurp
No,
power,
Wehliye,
if
it's
he
not fair.
can usurp power,
Wehliye,
then
Umoja, let
The
me-
one that we gave power has failed.
the people we gave power have failed. Okay.
And they ought to be answerable.
And if you are a deputy president today and you are saying your power has been usurped, what the hell are you doing there? Just get out of the place.
Eric,
you cannot be in
Eric,
office
Eric.
and
I
enjoy
think Wehliye-
and then say,
Wehliye,
"Oh, my
you are
job is being
misleading us.
done by someone else." Let me complete. I was just giving a background. I haven't even come to that point of we were discussing. Now, in who is you see the problem I have with Ahmed and the likes and so many other Kenyans is because Raila has been demonized a lot in the past. Every time you say this side cannot get us out of these problems, they cannot solve our problems because they were part of Jubilee, especially the UDA guys. The only thing that Ahmed or other people will always come with is Raila will be worse. So they're always talking about the future. When we know about these guys, we know they are the present, we know they are the past. So we can hold them by evidence that we have. So I know Ruto promised
So what
certain
yardstick
things.
should we use for these future guys?
Wait, Ruto promised stadia, he promised a lot of things. So I have evidence. I can tell him, you did this, you did A, you did B, you did C. When it comes to Raila, it's always about the future. It is about hypothetical stuff. When I say this guy is not good for the country, he has been given that power. I have tested his capacity. I can assess it.
So you have
I
practical
can assess his
experience.
performance. But when it comes to Raila,
You have practical
it's about
experience.
the future. You're always
No,
telling me.
no.
But Raila will be worse.
You have practical
without any
experience
evidence.
with
No,
the
listen to-
Jubilee Delta.
No,
Yes.
But you have faith with Azimio. So
I
one
faith-
is experience, the other one is what? Faith.
No,
And hope.
it's not a question of faith. It's a question of someone who wants to take power. Okay, they have never been head of state. Okay, all you can do is rely on their policy, give them a chance. But the others, we've given them the chance. They have failed, and yet the same people are coming to us and telling us, "I am better than someone that you have not." You see. Rating companies, Eric, I'll give you something about rating companies. If the rating agency rates you, okay, let's say a C.
Like Moody's and the others.
Yeah, Moody's and all the others. If they rate you a C, you're in trouble. It's not a good rating. Sometimes it's better to be unrated, okay, than to be rated C.
Poorly.
Raila is unrated when it comes to presidency
Why?
because he has never been a president.
He's been a
Prime
co-head
Minister.
of government.
No, but you see, we know the circumstances in which
Yes.
he was a co-head.
Yes.
We know
And those
the
circumstances
shenanigans around it.
guaranteed him
We
the
know
authority
he
of
had no
being
power.
at the seat of
No,
power.
no. We know he had no power.
No, I think
We know Kibaki was the president.
Wehliye, please,
we know the Kibaki
please.
side was running the show.
Let's also not rewrite history.
Yes, yes,
Wehliye.
absolutely.
We're not rewriting history. I'm giving you a fact.
In the grand coalition government,
Yes.
Wehliye, Raila was not head of state. There was one head of state.
Correct.
The president.
Yes.
But then there was sharing of government.
Correct.
And power in government.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And so Raila Odinga
Yes.
was a co-head of the executive.
Correct.
And it was very clear that decisions are going to be made not just by consultation,
Yes.
but with concurrence.
Correct.
That means that those two gentlemen,
Yes.
Kibaki and Raila,
Yes.
were heads of government.
Okay.
They were co-presidents.
Okay.
No,
Despite the shortcomings
Eric,
of that
the
arrangement.
important point
Eric,
also.
Eric,
Yes.
The
despite
important-
Ahmed, despite the shortcomings of that arrangement, okay, there are so many things I disagree with that about the level of his power and how much power he actually had. But I'll give it to you. Even then, the Grand Coalition government, if you compare its performance to even the first term of Jubilee, are you, in your own senses, telling me that the Grand Coalition performed worse than Jubilee?
Now let me answer
No,
this
I'm asking
question.
you a
Let
question.
me answer the question, Wehliye.
Which Jubilee? Jubilee first term or Jubilee
Any
second term?
Jubilee,
No,
any variant of Jubilee.
No, Wehliye.
the Wuhan, the Delta, whichever one,
No,
the Omicron, whichever it is.
Let me answer your question. First, you create your own fallacies, then try to expound on them. One of the fallacies you have created is that Raila is being judged on the future. No, Raila is being judged on the past.
He's never been a head of state.
Listen to me. Raila has been in government one form or another for close to 20 years, from Secretary General of KANU, from Minister of Energy, from Minister of Roads, from Prime Minister, all those. We are judging him
Why are
by
you
his...
mentioning
Wait.
only- why are you
We are
mentioning
judging
only
him
the
by his
performing?
record.
Why are you judging only the...
Wait, let me finish. We are judging him by his record. And the biggest problem people like me have with Raila is these tricks he uses of when he does not get the mandate of the people through the ballot box,
Yes.
he finds his way in the same government we have ring-fenced him from.
So
Wait,
Is that
wait,
Raila's
let me
effective,
finish.
is it?
Let me finish. It is that. You see, it invalidates the will of the people. I go to the ballot paper. I'm given a choice between two candidates. I said, this one I will not vote. The one I have put in the jail suddenly comes out of the jail and takes power.
Is that
What?
Raila's problem?
No, of course it is. Of course.
It is a problem of
Wait, let me
the
finish.
weakness
Well,
of the people
no,
you have elected.
We have a minute to conclude,
It,
gentlemen.
Eric, that is my biggest problem, because if the will of my vote does not count,
Come on.
because of that,
No way.
I mean, how can I vote
Eric,
for
how
that
can you
same
trust
person?
the same
if,
person?
if I made you
As
the-
you conclude.
Eric, wait, if you were made the CEO of the Standard Group
Yes.
and I come and take your powers, the same powers that you legally have,
Yes.
or perception exists that I
Should-
have actually
should
taken you,
Ndu trust you?
is it my problem or it's your problem?
Both.
Why are you blaming? Did Raila take a gun?
No, the main problem is because why do you go to a house that you are not entitled to? Why don't you avoid it and stay where you are?
It's up to you.
As we conclude, gentlemen,
it's up to you to keep your house away. I mean,
Asanteni sana for joining us today. I mean, this what we've done today is just opened up the banter on the conversations that we see, the conversations that will be hitting up as we head towards the general election in August. But the important bit would be to interrogate each of the candidates, each of the campaigns, and really get granular into what they're promising, into their track record, and into what we know to be our problems or all we seek. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us today.
Thank you, Eric.
Asante sana,
Thank you very
Eric.
much.
Thank you.
Listen to today's proverb. Siti.
Daktari.
Kawaida ni kama sheria.
Kabisa.
Na wakili anaielewa kabisa hiyo.
Kabisa.
Kawaida ni kama sheria.
Ni kama sheria tu.
It's the same.
Sheria.
It becomes habit. Okay.